fastest show in sports.
Tennis players are a very different breed. They're a very different type of, hang on a sec, before you keep throwing the R word out in here, big boy. Let's go ahead and set the stage, because you've got Taylor Townsend and Jelena Ostapenko who are on court, and Townsend has beaten the crap out of Ostapenko. It's over, and there's apparently been some bad blood between them in the first place, and it boiled over.
To the flourish there, and didn't she just do so very well to handle a moment when 5-3 down in the opening sets of this one. No love lost between these two. One thing you know for sure, Taylor Townsend ain't for backing down.
Not at all. You can see that emotion coming out of Taylor there. The entire court on court 11. Taylor egging it on. You love to see that competitive fight. All she's been through.
Taylor, congratulations. Fiery match start to finish. We'll get to it all. Can you fill us in on the conversation you were having with Jelena out there?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's competition. People get upset when they lose, and you can't. Some people say bad things. She told me I have no class, I have no education, and to see what happens when we get outside the U.S. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I beat her in Canada outside the U.S. I beat her in New York outside the U.S. So let's see what else she has to say.
I am sick and tired of every time something happens, when there's some kind of an argument, some kind of a disagreement, anything happens, that the first thing, and I swear it was the first thing I saw on social media after this happened, somebody said that it was racist, that the reason that Ostapenko called Townsend uneducated, or no, she said she was not educated, okay, and she said she was not educated and had no class. The only reason could have been is because she was a black female, and it was totally racist. Come on, why does everything have to be a knee-jerk into racism here? Ostapenko is not considered to be anybody with a great concept of fairness in the first place. You talk to a lot of the players, and they'll tell you she's a bit of a bitch at times. She goes off on these things. She has these moments. But to just say that it's based on racism, she just got her hat handed to her. Her clock was cleaned by Townsend. Townsend's a much better player. So she says, and basically, let's remember too, Mike, this comes down not necessarily to the match, but it comes down to something that happened earlier. There's a thinking process that when you hit a net cord in tennis, that the player who does it will say sorry. Apparently, according to Ostapenko, Townsend didn't do that. Townsend was also warming up from the baseline, not from the baseline, earlier on before the match. So there's this little petty bullshit that goes on here, but it becomes part of tennis. So she lost her cool. She said something. But to say that it's racist, why, Mike? Why do we have to knee-jerk to that every single time?
Well, you and I aren't black. We don't have ancestors in our past that were owned by other people, and so I think there's a natural predisposition for someone who hears no education it's a dog whistle, Ed. But here's the thing: where's Ostapenko from?
Latvia.
Oh yeah, Latvia. So Latvia didn't have a slave trade at that point. She didn't grow up with the sensitivity of. Naomi Osaka put this in the best context imaginable. They ask her about it. She's she's a socially conscious, half Japanese, half black. She identifies black. She also respects her Japanese heritage. But she had a great point. She said, "Are you asking me if it's right?" She said, "Well, look," she said, "Ostapenko, I know her. She said a lot more crazy things."
Yeah, that was part of my point.
Also, yeah, that's part of her point. And the other thing is, she said, and who knows if she's wise or knowledgeable about the history in this country about saying a black person is uneducated. Like a lot of people, she goes, I can guarantee you after the backlash, she won't say it again because now she'll be informed of that history. But she was basically saying she
Okay.
probably didn't mean anything by it.
But that's my point.
But I'm saying it's still something you got to be careful. Like it's good that it's a learning experience for her. Like
It
there's
apparently
like
was the
remember
fact that Townsend had not done certain things that are normally done in tennis on the court,
right.
and it's these little ridiculous kind
Right,
of
but
traditions that go on
exactly.
here. I get it.
That's
but
what she
just
meant.
lost the match.
That's what she
she
meant.
lost her cool.
But
She went off. She said, "You didn't know what you were doing. You're not educated. You have no class." And immediately, but okay,
But I'm not
it was
going
the wrong
to
thing to say, Mike. But I get it.
right. But I'm not gonna.
But
I'm not
but
gonna yell
why
at
do
anybody.
and I'm playing devil's advocate here. Why do we automatically go to the racist card on this? Why?
I'm not. Look, because we don't have any context, Ed. We get fired up by small things. So we don't. Most people that saw that saw a white woman telling a black woman they weren't educated. They didn't see a Latvian tennis player who had felt who feel the truth of the matter is, as you said, a Latvian tennis player not wise to the history here of black Americans in this country all of a sudden sees some dumb things that she thought was not tennis etiquette that Townsend had done, and she called her uneducated. I'm sure that's the reason, but still, I don't begrudge anybody. I mean, if it becomes a huge thing, then I think it's ugly. But I don't think it's bad to say, well, there are better things you could have said to somebody
there are better
if you're a
things she
white
could
person
have
in
said.
America.
There's no doubt about it.
But I mean, it's
again,
like
I'm going to come back to my point. Isn't this part of the problem in this country where a lot of times we knee jerk to a lot of these things, and we knee jerk to saying it's racist? We don't know what's in her heart. We don't know what she meant. We don't know if she has any clue. As you said properly, being from Latvia, she probably is not aware of the American condition, if you will, and this ridiculous, abhorrent, evil part of America that went on for so many years. So she wasn't even thinking about it. We don't know.
I know.
So, but we immediately
all know that.
But that's it. It was a racist thing to say. We don't know that,
Right.
and I don't think it's fair to make that jump right away.
Yeah, I agree with you, but once again, the context and sort of like the new and the media's our profession is to blame as anyone. When you're starting off a segment with did she step over the line racially? No, she didn't. But once you give it context and you educate it about it, you understand. I remember, God darn it, the New Zealand guy that played for Oklahoma City, big guy, Stephen. Oh, shoot. You know who I'm talking about. He's got tattoos. He's half Maori. God darn. Steven Adams. Steven Adams. He's a huge power forward in the
You're talking to a
NBA.
guy who's not an NBA guy, so there you go.
Right. But he's a big New Zealand guy, 7 foot something. And he's been around for a while. And at some point, he either used the term darkies or something else. People went nuts about this. Well, in his country, that was a perfectly acceptable way to analogize a black person. Not in America. He had to find that out
America
the
has
hard
this
way.
terrible history that we still have to pay for.
Has any of Steven Adams' teammates come out and said, "Yeah, that dude's right"? No, they basically took him aside and said, "Yo, you can't be calling anybody
But
in America.
I think
it's not a good look, dude."
In part, Mike, I think the sensitivity is based on what's happening now in America, because you have a president of the United States who is going after places such as the Smithsonian and other museums, basically telling people that slavery may not have been that bad, that we don't need to teach people all about slavery.
Totally
it was a bad
part
thing,
of it.
but let's not wallow in the evil that was here, which is absolute, freaking undeniable, mind-blowing. That anybody could say, anybody of any color, any age could say that and not understand the evil that there was here in this country, and the fact that we still have to know it, we have to accept it, we have to learn from it, we have to get better from it. So I think that there is a part of what's happening in America now will draw people to hit that knee-jerk racism when they hear it because of what's happening in America. But I guess all I'm saying is it doesn't make it right, and I don't think we can make that knee-jerk in every instance.
I agree with you, but I also think that I don't know where you were when Barack Obama was elected. I held like a O party, like where
Sure.
everybody had to bring O-shaped food. It was ridiculous the night of the inauguration, and people brought donuts, people brought bagels, people brought onion rings. It was fun, but either way, there were people crying, including me, in front of the television, thinking, "God dang, man." Look at all these. Look, there's a black family in the White House. What does that say about us as a country? It says progress. It says post-racial America. Do you know how long post-racial America lasted, that term? Probably about 3 months before the
Probably.
racism started again, and it got ugly, and it led up to the election of Donald Trump, and all these things like, what do you think the Cracker Barrel thing's about? It's about white people not wanting to feel guilty about their heritage. So keep the cracker on with the barrel on on the logo. That's what this whole MAGA thing's about. We don't want to feel guilty as white people. I don't feel guilty. I just want to, it's not critical race theory to me. It's shit that actually happened. So we should tell our kids so they do better. Okay? Period. Don't hide history. I don't know how we got
So let's
on
do
that
this. I mean,
from two. I don't know how we got on from all that after two tennis players argued in a net.
well, but no, but let's go on and make this. Let's make a positive out of this. All right. If there
All
are
right.
people who are going to talk about this instance as a racial incident, let's use it then to move forward. Let's take it and go, okay, we
Yeah.
don't know if she understood, but now she does. Instead of
Yep.
hammering away and saying that she spit out a racist insult, let's take Jelena aside and go, Jelena, guess what? When you say something like
Perfect.
that, do you know the history of America? Do you know what's gone on here? Do you know what's happening now? You might want to think twice about doing this again because people will take this as being a racial incident and you will have to pay for this for the rest of your life. Learn the other side of things. So,
Actually, you know what, Ed? That was a soundbite right there. That was perfect. If
well,
we can
but
if we can educate, if we can come out with something like
yeah.
that on this show every week, we will get sponsors. Damn it!
Let's use it as a positive. Let's not go immediately that she hates black people. No, she's
No.
okay. She's a little ignorant, maybe a lot ignorant about what has gone on in America because she's not an American citizen. So let's stop. Hold on, Townsend. And
Yep.
again, I got to tell you something. The other thing that caught me in that was you saw Townsend going after there, where she's egging on the crowd and she's going to go ahead and get all
Yeah.
upset about this, and the announcer in there going, "What a competitive fight that she has in her." Come on, Townsend was possibly just as wrong there as well because she's exacerbating the situation. Walk away from it,
She was.
let it go. You won the match, you crushed her. Okay? But let's not turn this into the Romans in the Colosseum waiting for the lions to eat somebody. Let's
It was like
turn this into a learning perspective to make it right.
That's all, folks.